today is Andreas Treichl, who is unfortunately ill, not very ill from what I see in Austria from COVID. So we are very glad to have him with us. He is the CEO of the Erste Group Bank. He's also the chairman of the Erste Foundation. He has worked for Chase Manhattan Bank in New York City and in various cities in the world, including Athens in the early 80s. And I was very pleasantly surprised to hear him speak in perfect Greek the other day when I had a quick talk with him as a result of his classical education as a child and as, from his stay in Greece. He became chairman of the board of an Austrian savings bank, which under his leadership became a huge financial services provider in Central and Eastern Europe. What I discovered was that behind the clinical, austere facade of a banker, there's another Andreas Treichl, who is a humanitarian, an idealist, a philanthropist. This is evidenced from his work with the Erste Group, which has made banking accessible to underprivileged people and the poor and people who have no credit record, who have no bank record, who need loans, they can give no collaterals and so forth, and who have to put their savings and get some interest. A special group of people that need some care. In the same humanitarian idealistic streak, or rather the same idealistic streak, led him to the helm of the European Forum Alpbach, an interdisciplinary platform for science, politics, business, and culture. And it's a forum for young people, especially concerned with the future of Europe and advancing the European Union. I think you will hear from him how he hopes to inspire young people to work across borders and across ideological lines to promote European causes and influence national politicians to influence the big picture. An offspring of the European Forum is the non-profit Alpbach Foundation, which he's also heading, established in 2005, which provides scholarships to young people from all over the world to study at Alpbach such topics, or to discuss, rather, such topics as the future of Europe, defense, migration, the climate, energy independence, and the rule of law and democracy. I have said my piece. The floor is yours, Andreas.
Thank you very much, for inviting me to speak. Unfortunately, this morning I did negative, so but take minutes to introduce you into my idea of what is waiting for the next generation in Europe and what needs to be done. In order to go, let's go back to the Second World War. In about a month, we will celebrate the 77th anniversary of the end of World War II. About a month after the end of the World War II, the Forum Alpbach with the aim to the young people in Europe values of the values of liberty that came out here, and in particular center of Europe. Young people would either choose being filled with nationalist ideas or with communist ideas. So I really formed to create an environment that people prosper in a liberal. So if we look at Europe over the past 77 years, I think we have to think about Europe in two phases. One phase of 60 years, during which Europe was incredible success. Europe lay in ash in 1945, and with the help of the States and the Allied forces, Europe developed over a 50-year period an incredible success. We became leaders in almost any industry, in exports. We created the largest food market in the world. Europe got closer. We united politically. We created probably the socially most balanced society on a continent, on this planet, with the exception of the Balkan War in the 90s, a 77-year period of peace. So all in all, what I could say is, basically we achieved everything that we wanted. However, with the beginning of the century, a lot of things start to fall apart. If you look at the new industries, if you look at the digital industries, if you look at the whole world digital if you look at what changed from the industrial world now to the IT world, Europe does not have leading companies in the world. We are not there. It's in America or in Asia. We're not the largest supermarket anymore. For the first time, a member left the European Union. We have more and more political resistance within the European Union, and we have to accept the fact that we did not rejuvenate the European Union for a very long period. We did it politically until 2007, when the last members from the former communist League joined the European Union. But in economic sense, we remained an economic union for the structure of an economy in the 70s and the 80s. But we do not have a European Union for an economy of 2022. We have no union. We have no digital. We have no education, which would be highly. We have basically no capital market. We are a union. We are on our way to a union, but we're long before we can really do it, due to the different situations that we have in Europe, the conflicts between the North and the South, between the West and the East, have been rising. And we have not had the energy to concern ourselves with all those necessary to advance the European Union to a union that can represent the world of 2022 as an economic union and as a union of values. It will be up to the next generation to make sure that all of those things happen. And why is the young generation so crucial for all of that? It is because we have a large discrepancy between national politics and European politics. But all those things that we need to do in order to advance Europe, and now with the attack of Russia on Ukraine, we feel the weakness that we have because we don't have an energy union, we do not have a defense union, and we didn't even think about doing all of it. Maybe one of the good things of this tragic conflict is that it might be a wake-up call to Europe to think about if we want to have an independent Europe, if we want to go back to where Europe was in 90 or 95, we need to work on our defense together. We need to work on our energy problem together. But all those will, if we don't start really to also realize that we need a capital markets union, we need a financial union, we need a mobility union, and we need an educational union. Now, if you think about the very reasons why all of this is not happening, it's very simple. You do not gain a election neither in Greece, nor in Belgium, nor in Denmark, nor in the Czech Republic by, as a local politician, promoting a European education union, by promoting a European digital union, a European data union, a European mobility union. We all know what gain votes with, and that has very little to do with those things that need to happen in order to bring Europe back to the track on which Europe was for 50, 60 years, incredibly successful. I think we can take it from Friday for Future. Friday for Futures is kind of a very problematic situation because they're calling for issues that are now bit on the back because we have other issues, but they are quite amazing. And what they achieved was getting the attention of politicians on the left, in the middle, by showing to local politicians that the young people in Europe, irrespective of their ideological belief, the Greens or the Liberals or not so liberals, the nationalists, all the young people in Europe gave the feeling to politics, we want the world to change. We want politics to take care of our environment. We want decarbonization, and we want it, we really want it. What we need is young people calling for all the other things that are so incredibly necessary in order to advance Europe. Now, I know it's highly unlikely that we will get young people on the street to call a data union or to call for a digital union, but we need to do it. We need to find a way on how we build a young generation in Europe that is fully aware of the fact that if we do not manage to create a union for 2022 and beyond that is as strong as the union was in 1960, 1970, or 1980, Europe will not be a job creator in the future. And we all want a Europe where not only the young people of Europe have a great place to live in, but we all want a Europe that is not only so attractive to be visited, but that is so attractive as a continent to work for people from America, from Latin America, from Asia. That needs to be our future. And for that, we need the young people to make strong calls on politicians in each and every one of the European countries. And that's one of the things that we're trying to promote with our Forum Alpbach. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm ready for all questions you might have. Unfortunately, I can't hear you for the moment.
Thank you, Andreas, for very inspiring and refreshing views on how we should proceed with Europe's future, particularly your ideas about the young people playing a big role and change coming from the grassroots and from the area of low politics, let's say, and not necessarily top-down and high politics, because that's, I understand, is your message. But let me turn to the audience and see whether there is a question we would like to entertain. Well, if there isn't one, I'm going to ask you a question. We are faced with this drama in the Ukraine. It's an attack by Russia on, well, a European country. What do you think is, how will this affect the European Union, this terrible thing that's happening right now?
Well, I think the situation presently is clear. There are two definite losers. One, of course, is the Ukraine. The Ukraine was a poor country before it was attacked. Now it's a poor and devastated country. And it will need a lot of philanthropy to get Ukraine back on track. The second loser, very definitely, is Russia, because Russia, no matter what happens, is and will be excluded from the Western world for a pretty long time, unless Russia suddenly turns around, stops the war, excuses for what they have done, and start to rebuild Ukraine, which is highly unlikely that this will happen. So there are clearly two losers. And the third loser for the moment, very clearly, is Europe. Whereas I think the United States and China might, at least economically, even benefit from the situation. We risk very much that we move into a bilateral world, an Eastern world and a Western world. And I think if we have a chance, we should avoid that. But as I said before, it's also a great chance for Europe, because this attack, and we're now in the 5th week of this war, has suddenly brought Europe to unity. It's amazing what's happening in the Visegrad countries. It's amazing if you see and look back at the refugee crisis in 2015, what positions suddenly Poland, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic are taking, how the three countries are now very critical of Hungary not being adamant about sanctions towards Russia. It's amazing, if you had told me at the beginning of February this year that a social democratic German chancellor would go to the Bundestag and say, let's raise 100 billion, he would have been booed out. A day later, the Green Party talks that he has to rethink his position on nuclear energy. So, in a very, maybe this war is the wake-up call for Europe. That we're too big, we're too precious in order to be dependent on mostly autocratic states who supply us with oil and gas, and that we have different economic interests than the United States. And I think that the call for a defense should not be an aggressive call. But is it really correct that in 2022, Europe still depends on the United States in its defense? Is it about that Europe should be able to do that on a friendly basis with the United States, but also able to do it independently? So, maybe this story there is valuable for the future of Europe. We just have to hope that unity that is being created in European politics continues not only for a month, 2 months, but for the next 20 years. Then this would have been a really good moment.
Great. Thank you for this thoughtful answer to this question. I want to tell you how much we appreciate your contribution today, in spite of your ill health right now. And we wish you perastika, as we say in Greek. You remember that word. And thank you. Thank you very much. Please go back to bed now. Thank you. Take care.